What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte. And I did not expect to be making this video. Now, again, we have to see how things play out. This is an early report. But apparently, Alexander Ovechkin does not want to stay with the Washington Capitals. And we're going to take a look at that today. So this kind of came out of nowhere, and obviously you look at Alexander Ovechkin's name on rumors, and instantly that's going to draw some attention. And this is an interesting report from Greg Wyshynski, and this is not a no-name person. He definitely has gotten some links to certain trades and signings and things like that in the past. Greg Wyshynski is not a nobody reporter here. And Greg Wyshynski said that Alexander Ovechkin has reportedly told Capitals management that he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild while he chases the goal record. And that is, again, from Greg Wyshynski. So you have to look at the context of this situation. As I always say in my videos, this one's no different. Why would Ovechkin want to leave the Capitals? Now, there's a couple different things. So the first thing is the standings. Now, if you look at the Capitals in the standings, they currently sit 5th in the Metropolitan Division and 3 points out of a playoff spot. So they're not necessarily out of the situation. You know, they're not in a terrible spot. They're just not in a great spot. And something that we haven't really seen from Washington recently. This is kind of a weird spot for them. They're not normally, in a spot where they're, oh, wow, we're 5th in the division. That's not typically where the Capitals have been. And you look at where Ovechkin sits in his goals situation. This is a guy that, listen, he's about to break the goal record from Wayne Gretzky in an NHL career. And that sounds ludicrous, but with 797 goals, if he gets to that 900 goal mark, he will break Gretzky's record, which is crazy. And when you look at his age, he's 37 years old. I mean, I can't believe how old this guy is. It's insane. But Ovechkin is going to play till 40. I am pretty confident in that. And I think if he plays till 40 and stays healthy and continues to produce the way he has, he's going to be right in that conversation. And I think right now he's looking at a Capitals team that is not in the glory days that they were, right? Bruce Springsteen glory days. They're not in that spot anymore. This is a team that is a middle-of-the-pack Washington Capitals team in the Metropolitan Division. And if they don't make the playoffs, there's even more pressure on Ovechkin to kind of figure out where his future lies. And you have to think of it in the sense that I don't think Ovechkin's necessarily saying he wants to get traded out of Washington. I think he's more letting the management know that he wants this to be a team that's still in the cup window. And maybe that means acquiring talent before the deadline. Whether that's a Bo Horvat or, again, just throw names out there. Whoever the big ticket names on the trade market are. They still see themselves as a cup window team. And if they want to keep Ovechkin, and Ovechkin's kind of saying, listen, we need to add some more talent. And when you look at their roster right now, it's depleted. A lot of big injuries. We might not see Nick Backstrom this year. He's out with a hip injury. He's on the long-term injured reserve. That was really bad news earlier this year. Carl Hagelin may never play hockey again with that weird eye injury he had. It's saying hip, but I think it was an eye injury that Hagelin had. They've got a couple injuries. Tom Wilson's been out with a knee injury. Beck Malenstein's been out for the last couple days. Their goalie, Darcy Kemper's been out. On defense, Alexander Alexiev, Martin Fehervary, Connor Brown, all these guys have been out. And it's definitely kind of concerning if you're a Capitals fan, right? You sit 5th in the division, not playing that well. But Ovechkin's still chugging. He's got 17 goals this year, so he's still playing quite well. But I think Ovechkin's realizing that maybe they aren't a playoff caliber team this year. And if he wants to continue to get to his own personal goal of maybe, maybe stacking up a Stanley Cup, but I think he wants to hold that legacy of, the most goals in NHL history in an NHL career. And I think that means a lot to him at this point. He is so close to that goal that I think he's kind of just saying, I am going to do whatever it takes to get there. And if that means leaving Washington to chase that, that's something that may come to fruition here. Now, the problem with Ovechkin is his contract. He's got a big contract, and I don't necessarily see him getting traded during the season. I think if we're at the trade deadline and we're talking about Ovechkin getting traded from the Capitals, I think there's even bigger issues. But it's something to at least consider here. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I'm also not going to sit here and say, oh, expect Ovechkin traded by the deadline. That's not realistic. But it is an interesting storyline to keep an eye on for the rest of this year because Ovechkin just signed a big ticket. Unless something happens where Ovechkin forces a trade, his contract takes him till 2026 with the Capitals. That's 4 more seasons, including this one. So unless Ovechkin is basically holding out and saying, I will not play until I'm traded, Ovechkin's going to stay in Washington. But I think the Capitals do realize at some point here that, you look at this team, there's a lot of guys where their contracts are expiring this year, and this might be as good as it gets for the Capitals, as kind of sad as that sounds. Dylan Strome is playing extraordinarily well, second on the team in points. He's already got 22 points this year, and that is something nobody's really talked about. Lars Eller's on the final year of his deal. Garnet Hathaway, Connor Sheary, Marcus Johansson, Nicholas Aube-Kubel. Again, for what that's worth, a total redo or rebuild of the blue line is going to be in the cards because the only 2 defensemen currently, oh my goodness, it's nice to see Johansson up there, but Lucas Johansson and John Carlson are the only guys that are on this team past this season. Everybody else has to be re-signed. Matt Irwin, Eric Gustafsson, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Nick Jensen, and Dmitry Orlov. All of those guys have to be re-signed past this season. So, again, when you look at that blue line, it is a beat-up blue line with a bunch of guys injured, like I said. Alexiev, Fehervari. This team is pretty beat up. And I think if you look at just the reality of the situation, the Capitals' depth isn't really there. And there's not a lot of stability past this season. So if Ovechkin sees this blue line kind of getting rebuilt, maybe he says, I don't want to be here, right? So it's something to consider. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you guys just think this is just to create some buzz and is just a trying to get clicks sort of thing? But the fact that Ovechkin went to the management kind of makes you wonder, there might be something to this, right? So let me know what you guys think down below. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you again next time.